Welcome back. As we recognize the importance of Pride Month, we highlight organizations like GLAAD. GLAAD is the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media organization. Today, they join us to discuss the launch of their latest campaign with Ground Media, Here We Are. The video campaign combats misinformation about transgender people and amplifies trans visibility. Before we meet our guests, let's take a look at this heartwarming video.
71% of Americans say they have never met a transgender person. Here I am. Growing up was fun. My friends were always over, my cousins were always over.
It was a lot of people in and out. It kind of prepared us just for embracing all kinds of people in the world.
As transgender people, sometimes we forget that the journey is not just ours. My family, no matter what, we always loved each other.
It wasn't hard for me to accept my brother. It was definitely an adjustment. Is transgender a real identity? 100%. Is it the end all of who people are? Absolutely not.
Trans people are just people. We're joyful, and we just want to live and thrive and be. I just want people to understand that literal lives are at stake.
We can all just live freely if we respect and honor one another.
We all have the right to be ourselves without fear. Help us share this story.
Shane Diamond of GLAAD and U.S. Air Force vet and community advocate Gio tell me more about this effort. I want to thank you both so much for joining me.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having us. It's great to be in studio, and I'm so glad Gio could join us via Skype.
Now, what inspired the creation and the launch of Here We Are campaign? And I want to reiterate, it's with Ground Media as well. It's a collaboration. So can you tell us a little bit more about this collab and the campaign in general?
Yeah, absolutely. Ground and GLAAD have been working together on this campaign for about a year, trying to add to our roster of transgender storytellers that can help introduce audiences and more Americans to real transgender people. In 2023, GLAAD released a study called Accelerating Acceptance that revealed that 71% of Americans say that they've never met a trans person that they know of. And trans people like me, like Gio, we are here, we are in communities. And so this campaign is really helping to facilitate some of those introductions, to bring communities together that might not normally meet, and to help change some of those statistics and introduce more trans people to our greater communities.
Now, as you mentioned, 71% of Americans claim they've never met someone who's transgender, which I could imagine is a tricky statistic, right? Because how can you automatically know? But I understand the idea behind, the number. How will this campaign address misconceptions about what it means to be trans in America?
That's a really great question. And I appreciate the nuance in the question, right? Because 71% of Americans say they've never met a trans person that they know of. If you met me on the street, you might not guess that I'm trans. I am assumed to be cisgender, so not transgender, cisgender. And we, trans people, we are out here, we are, on your teams, we are in your classrooms, we're working alongside you. And there's no one way to look transgender. There's no one way to be transgender. And so really trying to help disrupt some of the narratives and the misinformation, especially from people who oppose equality, to change what it looks like and what it sounds like, to have more transgender people in our communities. And this video campaign and the bravery from Gio, Ashton, and Nadia to share their stories along with their families helps do this in a way that highlights and increases visibility, but doesn't require a bunch of one-on-one conversations to facilitate these intros.
Thank you so much. And I want to, kind of get to Gio and, talk about, can you just explain how anti-transgender rhetoric from politicians have affected members, of this community, but kind of also added to those misconceptions that we hear about trans people in America?
Absolutely. Again, thank you for having me here. But many of us live in states where that rhetoric is kind of the foundation. I am based in Ohio, which is pretty much a red state right now. And folks here are thinking that way also. And they feel like transgender people should not be able to live their authentic lives. There are plenty of bans and bills that are happening across the country that we're seeing where the rights of transgender people are being taken away. And the charges being led by politicians. It is often being targeted towards youth, and those who are playing sports. And so what we are seeing is people are bullying children, and they're bullying transgender people, and they're trying to erase our identities.
Now, can you expand on the importance of highlighting the transgender experience within the LGBTQ community?
Yes, as someone who is Black and transgender, it is, extremely hard oftentimes, because what we see still is the T being left off in the community, or a lot of segregation still within the community. And again, this is just my experience in seeing it, but we want to talk about how, if we're going to talk about Pride and we're going to celebrate Pride, Pride started as a riot, and it started as a riot from Black and brown trans women and trans people. So being able to highlight the history within the transgender community and the history of what Pride and the community itself is, we cannot do any of that without talking about transgender people and highlighting us.
Thank you. Now, Shane, can you just expand on the creative decision, or why was there a creative decision to release 60-second videos?
We have short attention spans. So a 60-second video trying to communicate what it means to be trans. Here are some people. These are their stories. Facilitating some of those introductions. Gio's in this series, in the campaign, with his sister. Nadia is featured with both of her parents. Ashton is with his dad. So 60 seconds is a long time in TikTok land, but it's not a long time in terms of making introductions and welcoming people into our lives and into our stories. So a 60-second spot is great for social media. It's great to be able to include in shows like this. Again, we're so grateful to be here. We do have a 30-second version that we're also releasing, and we're really excited that's going to be on some major broadcast networks. So don't skip all the commercials next time you're watching TV or streaming something, because we'll have some of these videos interspersed in there as well.
That's amazing. And Gio, can you tell me a little bit more about your participation in the Here We Are campaign?
Yes, I was just approached to tell my story. I'm someone who often speaks about my experience as a Black trans person, as a community advocate, as a military veteran. So when this opportunity presented itself, I thought it was extremely important, and I was excited to be a part of it.
Now, I want to hear from both of you, and Shane, you can go first. Can you talk about the importance of featuring family and support in these segments? I know that, sometimes when we talk about hardship, there's a feeling of sadness sometimes when we talk about, just any marginalized communities, but I thought it was really refreshing and really nice to see positive stories, come from the community. So can you talk about the importance of highlighting that as well?
It is so important now to create stories that include trans joy, that include stories of love, of happiness, of people coming across a table to share a meal or prepare a meal. This is what we all want in our lives. We all want joy, we all want ease, we want happiness, we want love. That's often not what trans people are being told is we're allowed to have for our experience by the media. And so we really, really wanted to prioritize telling positive, joyful stories, giving kids and other trans people an opportunity to see something and aspire to have that, to show what a loving family looks like, and also to talk about how it's not always easy. Family isn't always easy. Sometimes we disagree. Sometimes we take a second to learn about each other and come back together. But family is what binds us together, and family is ultimately where we find our safety and comfort. And so being able to include stories with loving families, with trans joy, with siblings, with parents is so important, because it not only reinforces that trans people are deserving of love and happiness and joy, but that it's possible for those who are out there seeking it.
And Gio, I'd love to hear from you. What was that experience like, sharing this moment with your sister? Again, talking about trans joy and kind of showing something that's a little bit more light and positive for Pride.
Yeah, I have a very close family. My sister and I are super close. She's so amazing, and I'm extremely thankful for her willingness to always be a part of these things. I think it also was amazing because my sister is an absolute true ally, and she does that in action. And I think this was a great point for her to be able to be a part of something to continue to show her allyship when she's talking about how she's an ally. So it's not just about me as this trans person, but it's also about her in being able to say, I support my brother, but I support my brother in all of these ways. And I think it's extremely important for people to see that we do have families. We do have families that love us. I'm a person who loves to thrive on trans joy. You know, we're going to talk about what is hard for trans people, but I don't like to live there. I like to hit the points and move on and live my most authentic, joyful life all the time. And so I think it's extremely important for the world to see that.
And Gio, I definitely want to hear your opinion on this. In 2022 GLAAD poll of LGBTQ Americans, 72% of transgender participants said the current political environment made them fear for their safety. Can you just tell us a little bit more, in your own experience, how you kind of handle hearing something like this and what people, especially young people in this community, should do when they hear stuff like that?
Well, it's absolutely true. Again, I've been working in public policy for a long time. I'm currently finishing a degree in political science. And so this is something that I am constantly watching and taking note of. And it is extremely deafening to hear sometimes what politicians are saying and how they feel about transgender people and LGBTQ people as a whole. But what I do try to tell the youth and young adults is not everyone thinks that way. The best way to kind of combat that is to find your community, find your support system, find joy in your life, be able to continuously show that you're not going to be defeated. Try not to walk around in the world with a target intentionally on your back.
Thank you so much for that. And I definitely think it's something that young people especially need to hear. So thank you again for kind of expanding on that. Now, Shane, can you tell us a little bit more about where people can kind of interact with this more and just learn more about this amazing campaign?
We hope that people share these videos far and wide, so they're available on our website, the campaign website, herewearenow.com. From there, you'll be able to watch videos with Gio and his sister, with Ashton and his dad, with Nadia and her parents, and be able to share that out via email, on social media, to your various websites. And you'll learn more as we continue to update that website with more and more transgender storytellers and their families as this campaign continues to grow and build momentum. Throughout the year, we are queer, not just in June. This happens all year round for us, and so we want to continue creating content and telling stories of transgender people throughout the year.
And then can you just let us know, what do you hope people learn from the campaign?
Ashton says something in one of his videos that I think really sticks with me, which is that we all have more in common than we are different. And I hope that people can watch these videos, get to meet Gio, Ashton, Nadia, and their families, and really see that transgender people have more in common with cis people, that we all have more in common with each other than we have different, and to have a little bit of empathy for those who might be different from us, and how can we lift up and support those around us, especially if we are not facing the same struggles.
Well, Gio and Shane, I want to thank you both so much for joining me and having this discussion. And congratulations on this campaign. I think it's amazing. You're doing amazing work. So thank you both once again.
Thank you so much, Kibin.
If you would like to learn more about this campaign and to hear more about Gio and all of the stories, please go to the website www.herewearenow.com. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch a recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.